Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something that started as an ordinary day at a lawyer's office and ended with my entire world collapsing in front of strangers. You probably won't survive this story if you've ever trusted someone completely, because what I'm about to tell you will make you rethink the meaning of forever. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to watch the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's comfortably embark on tonight's journey. I'm sitting in a chair that creaks every time I move the air in the lawyer's office, thick with the kind of silence that makes your stomach twist. The clock ticks above his head, and every second feels like a countdown to something I don't understand yet. My husband's portrait, the one we used at the funeral, sits on the corner of the desk. I still can't believe that's how people will remember him, smiling like he had no secrets. When the lawyer clears his throat, the sound cuts through the air like a blade. He's a short man with silver-rimmed glasses and the kind of patience that only comes from breaking bad news for a living. He flips through the pages of my husband's will eyes, scanning paragraphs that might as well be written in another language. He pauses, glances at me, then at my stepson, who's smirking like he's already won something. Then in one sentence, my life is erased. According to this, will all financial assets, real estate, and personal property are to be transferred to the family trust under the management of... His voice fades, but my mind fills in the rest. Not me. I stare at the paper looking for my name, but it's not there, not even once. Just the cold precision of legal phrasing, the language of exclusion. My hands go numb. I've read that when people are in shock, their body detaches from reality. They say you can still hear the sounds, but they come from far away, like echoes in water. People still debate whether betrayal hurts more when it's planned or when it's discovered by accident. But when it's written in ink and notarized, there's no debate left, it just becomes fact. My husband, the man who swore we'd build everything together, had left me nothing. My in-laws exchange knowing looks as if they expected this outcome all along. His sister, a woman who's always dressed like she's attending her own award ceremony, leans closer and whispers, "He must have had his reasons, dear." Her perfume hits me like poison. Sharp, expensive, suffocating. I want to scream, but instead I just nod. Because crying here would be a victory for them, and I'm not ready to give them that. The lawyer, Mr. Dwyer, clears his throat again. He looks uncomfortable, like he's reading from a script that doesn't quite make sense. "This is quite straightforward," he mutters, adjusting his glasses. "Though I must admit the document seems incomplete. There are signatures missing from the witness section." His tone lowers, almost like he's talking to himself, but I catch it. Inheritance law. I later learn requires 2 witnesses to a will for it to be valid in our state. It's a safeguard meant to prevent manipulation or forgery, a small detail most people overlook until it saves or destroys them. I remember once reading that 64% of adults in the U.S. don't even have a will. The rest often leave one behind that's contested, misunderstood, or in this case, incomplete. My husband wasn't careless. He was meticulous about everything, how bills were paid, how investments were made, even how the dishwasher should be loaded. So this didn't fit. After the meeting, I step outside into the sharp chill of early evening. The sky is pink and gray, the kind of color that looks like bruised skin. My stepson Ethan follows me to the parking lot. He's got that smug half smile that used to make me feel guilty for disliking him. "Guess Dad thought you had enough already," he says. "It's not even a question, it's a slap." I bite my tongue because I know that if I say what I'm thinking, I'll regret it. People always tell you to keep your dignity, but what they don't tell you is that dignity feels useless when your world's been stripped bare. I drive home in silence, my fingers gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turn white. The house feels emptier than ever, like he took the air with him when he died. I sit on the edge of our bed looking at the photo of our wedding day, his hand over mine, his eyes promising everything I thought was real. And I whisper to the empty room, "Where did you go? Really?" That night, I can't sleep. I walk through the house barefoot, listening to the creaks and the faint hum of the refrigerator. Every corner feels like a memory and a lie. I open his office door, the one I'd barely entered since he passed. His scent lingers in the room, aftershave paper dust, and something I can't name. I glance at his desk, perfectly organized, like he's about to come back and finish something. I run my hand over the wooden surface, and my fingers brush against a faint line, a crack maybe. Or something else. I press slightly, and it moves. Just a hair, but enough for me to know this story isn't over yet. The next morning, sunlight sneaks through the blinds like it's trying to wake me without permission. I haven't slept, just drifted in and out of the same thought: the will was wrong. My husband wasn't cruel, calculating, yes, secretive, absolutely, but never cruel. That document wasn't the man I married, or at least that's what I keep telling myself as I make coffee. I don't drink and stare at the steam like it might form an answer. People still debate whether grief makes you irrational or finally honest. For me, it did both by 10 a.m. I'm back in his office, still barefoot, hair tied up in a messy knot that feels more like a crown of exhaustion. The desk drawer that moved last night keeps drawing my attention. I press along the edges again, but nothing happens. It's infuriating, like a puzzle that mocks you silently. My husband loved puzzles. Crosswords, riddles, logic games. He said they kept the mind honest. Ironic, isn't it? I pull the drawer open completely, emptying out pens, paper clips, and an old checkbook. Then I see it, a thin metal latch on the underside. I push it, and the false bottom pops loose with a soft click. My heart stops. Inside, just a folded note and an empty envelope. The note reads in his familiar handwriting, "For when they try to erase you." Nothing else. No explanation. No signature. Just those 8 words. I sit back shaking, trying to decide whether to cry or laugh. It's the first time I've seen his handwriting since he died, and somehow it feels like he's speaking directly into my ear. But what does it mean? Who's they? His family, the lawyer. Me? I don't know. All I know is that something's missing. The money, the assets, the truth. I call Mr. Dwyer, the lawyer, and ask if we can meet again. He hesitates but agrees to see me that afternoon. Off the record, he adds quietly, which immediately raises every red flag in my mind. Off the record usually means someone knows something they can't prove yet. When I arrive at his office, he's already waiting by the window, holding a stack of papers that look too thin to be comforting. "Mrs. Alden," he says, gesturing for me to sit. I've reviewed the documents again. There's something peculiar. He leans in, lowering his voice like the walls have ears. The will we read yesterday, there are gaps in the notarization. Specifically, page 3 is numbered incorrectly, and there's no registry stamp on the final sheet. That's not just sloppy, it's deliberate. I feel a flicker of cold satisfaction. "So you're saying it's fake?" He sighs. Not necessarily fake, but possibly altered. He explains that in some inheritance disputes, family members or associates might replace a page, remove a clause, or even destroy earlier drafts to benefit certain heirs. It's rare, but it happens. Apparently, inheritance fraud cases have risen by nearly 40% in the past decade, especially when digital records get involved. I can almost hear my husband's voice saying, "Paper is safer than pixels." Mr. Dwyer's tone softens. "Your husband's wealth wasn't all documented, was it?" I shake my head. He kept a private portfolio, real estate, art investments, offshore holdings maybe. I never asked where everything was. He always said, "You'll know when you need to." Then perhaps he says, adjusting his glasses, this is what he meant. He asked me to bring anything unusual I find in the house. Letters, receipts, notes, anything that doesn't fit. Before I leave, he lowers his voice even further. "Between you and me, Mrs. Alden, the version we have isn't the only one. Your husband drafted another will about 6 months ago. I saw the template myself, but it was never finalized in our office. If he kept a copy, it could still be somewhere in his possession." I walk out trembling. The city feels louder than usual. Horns chatter, life moving too fast for grief. I sit in my car, clutching the steering wheel, replaying every conversation I ever had with my husband about the future. I used to joke about dying first just to avoid paperwork. He'd always respond, "Don't worry, you'll be taken care of, taken care of." Those words feel like a cruel echo now. That evening I search his office again, methodically this time. Every drawer, every folder, every shelf. I find receipts from art galleries, offshore wire transfers I don't understand, and an old passport with stamps from countries he never told me he visited: Cyprus, Liechtenstein, Panama. My pulse quickens. I Google them, reading about financial havens, shell companies, asset protections. It feels like falling into a rabbit hole of secrets. In one folder, I find a document titled Alden Holdings Trust. My name isn't on it, but neither is his family's. It lists only one beneficiary, designated per supplemental instruction. Supplemental instruction. My mind spins. That must mean there's another file, something that defines who that beneficiary is. Maybe the hidden page Mr. Dwyer hinted at. I remember a weird fact I once read online. Some people hide critical legal documents in freezer bags sealed and stored behind air vents because paper survives better in stable cold temperatures. It sounds absurd, but my husband was absurdly practical. So I checked the vent in his office. Nothing. Then the one in the bedroom. Still nothing. Finally, in the hallway near the attic, I feel a slight resistance when I unscrew the metal grate. Inside is a plastic envelope yellowed by dust. My heart pounds as I pull it out, my hands shaking so much the flashlight beam wobbles. Inside, a single sealed page folded twice, stamped with a faint notary seal. The paper smells like old ink and cedar. I sit on the floor staring at it, half afraid to open it because I know whatever's inside will change everything. But I can't stop now. I tear it open carefully, and though I don't understand all the legal language, I see my name listed beside words like sole executor and residual assets. There's mention of an account of property in my hometown and a clause titled private trust allocation. It's signed in my husband's unmistakable handwriting. My chest tightens. He didn't forget me. He was trying to protect me. But from whom? My phone rings. It's Mr. Dwyer again. "Mrs. Alden," he says. Voice tense. "I think you should come back tomorrow morning. I might have something you'll want to see. And please, don't tell anyone you found that page just yet." The line goes dead. My heart beats so hard it hurts. I lean back against the wall, the hidden page trembling in my hands. Somewhere deep inside, beneath the grief and exhaustion, a strange feeling stirs, something between hope and fear. Because if this is real, then the war for my husband's fortune hasn't even begun yet. And if it's not, I've just stepped into a trap set long before I ever realized the game was on. The next day starts with fog thick enough to swallow the world. I drive to the lawyer's office through a haze that feels metaphorical. Nothing is clear, everything uncertain. My husband used to say fog was truth's favorite disguise. I never understood that until now. When I step into Mr. Dwyer's office, he's already waiting, a manila folder in front of him, and a look that says he hasn't slept either. "You found something, didn't you?" he asks without greeting. I nod and slide the sealed page across the table. He puts on his glasses, studies the seal, and his eyebrows lift. "Well, I'll be damned," he mutters. "This is legitimate. Witnessed, notarized, even stamped by a clerk in a neighboring county." He flips the page over and looks at the date. "This is from 3 months before your husband's death." My heart thuds. "Then why wasn't it in your office?" "Because he never filed it," Mr. Dwyer says quietly. "He must have drafted it privately. Some people prefer not to update their wills officially when they're hiding assets, especially if family pressure is involved." I lean forward. "So what does it mean?" He takes a breath. "It means that will from last week is void. This page changes everything. I should feel relief, but instead I feel dread, because when you've already been erased once, the idea of being restored feels fragile, like it could vanish again at any moment. Mr. Dwyer starts making photocopies, muttering legal jargon under his breath. I stare at the folder on his desk labeled Alden Estate Case, the ink already smudged from handling. He stops and says, "There's more, Mrs. Alden. Your husband set up something called the Alden Private Trust. It's been inactive for years, but with this amendment, you're listed as the sole beneficiary. The total valuation, well, let's just say it's substantial. My pulse spikes. How substantial? He hesitates, then says, north of 12 million if my math is right. I feel dizzy. For a second, I can't even breathe. Then he adds, but you should be careful. If the other family members find out before we verify this in probate court, they'll contest it. And once that happens, you'll be dragged through months, maybe years of litigation. The word litigation sounds like a curse. I know his family. They'd fight me not because they need the money, but because they can't stand the thought of me winning. People still debate whether greed or pride ruins families faster. In mine, both showed up wearing the same perfume. As I leave, Mr. Dwyer leans in close and whispers, "One more thing, don't tell Ethan. I've seen that boy's eyes in meetings. He's not grieving, he's calculating." The elevator ride down feels endless. My reflection in the mirror walls looks like someone else's, someone older, sharper, the kind of woman who's been cornered enough times to start sharpening her own edges. When I reach the parking lot, Ethan is waiting by my car. Of course he is. He's got that casual stance that looks practiced, like he rehearsed it in front of a mirror. "You've been busy," he says, voice low. "Dwyer called you in again, huh?" "He needed a signature," I reply, trying to sound bored. "Routine." "Right," he smirks, stepping closer. "You know, Dad used to tell me you were clever, but not that clever. Guess we'll see." He turns and walks away before I can answer, his shoes clicking on the pavement like punctuation marks. That night, I double lock every door in the house. My mind replays everything: my husband's final months, the phone calls he took outside, the unexplained absences. I'd assumed he was working on business deals. Now I wonder if he was working on this, the hidden page, the trust, the plan to protect me from his own family. Maybe he knew what would happen after his death. Maybe he'd seen it coming. I remember a conversation we had one summer evening on the porch. He'd asked me, "Do you trust paper or people?" I laughed, said, "Paper doesn't lie." He smiled then, but not happily. "It does, just slower." That line haunts me now. Around midnight, I go through the rest of his study. I find a file titled Alden Properties, redacted. Inside are deeds for 3 properties I didn't even know existed. One of them is a small farmhouse in Vermont, listed under a shell company. I open Google Maps and find it a cabin surrounded by pines, completely isolated. Something in my gut says that's where the rest of the story is buried. The next morning I drive there. The roads twist through fog and forest like the earth itself wants to keep secrets. When I finally arrive, the cabin is unlocked. Inside, dust motes dance in sunlight, pouring through half-drawn curtains. The place smells like cedar and paper, just like his office. I explore the rooms one by one. In the back, there's a small study with a locked drawer. Of course. I try to open it, but the keyhole is too narrow. Then I remember the old key on his watch chain. I pull it from my pocket and slide it in. The drawer opens smoothly, almost gracefully. Inside, I find a ledger, handwritten. My husband's meticulous penmanship fills each page, dates transactions and notes like transfer to B pending confirmation. I flip through until I find a line highlighted in red: emergency file delivered to D0403. D as in Dwyer, or someone else. At the bottom of the last page, there's a cryptic message. If you're reading this, they found the first copy. Protect the second. My hands tremble as I close the book. Outside, the wind picks up, whistling through the pines. I don't know who they are anymore, his family, his business partners, or someone even darker. But I know one thing: the money isn't just money. It's leverage, and someone's already looking for it. On the way back, I stop at a gas station to grab coffee. The TV behind the counter plays a local news story: ongoing investigation into missing financial records tied to the Alden estate. Family members allege forgery and concealment. My stomach drops. They already know. By the time I get home, my phone has 17 missed calls, 8 from Ethan, 5 from his aunt, and 4 from numbers I don't recognize. I don't answer any of them. Instead, I sit at the kitchen table staring at the ledger. My husband had built a fortress of secrets, and now I was standing inside it holding the key and the map. I realized something else then. The handwritten amendment I found wasn't just a correction, it was a test. He wanted to see who would look deeper, who would notice what was missing. Maybe that's what love looked like to him, protection wrapped in mystery. People still debate whether love and control are opposites or twins. I think in his case, they were one and the same. When the doorbell rings, I nearly jump out of my skin. Through the peephole, I see a man in a gray suit, Mr. Dwyer's assistant. I open the door cautiously. He hands me a sealed envelope. Mr. Dwyer asked me to deliver this personally. He said it's urgent. I thank him and close the door. Inside the envelope is a single sentence written in Dwyer's tidy handwriting. They're coming for the ledger. Don't trust anyone, not even me. My blood runs cold. I look around my quiet house, the ticking clock suddenly deafening. Somewhere between truth and lies, I've become the last piece of my husband's unfinished puzzle. And as the night creeps in again, I finally understand the danger in inheritance. It's never just about what's left behind. It's about what people are willing to destroy to claim it. The night feels heavier than usual, the kind of darkness that doesn't just hide things, it watches. Every creak in the house sounds like a question I don't want to answer. I keep rereading Dwyer's note. Don't trust anyone, not even me. It loops in my mind like a broken song. What did he mean? Has he turned against me, or is he warning me about someone else? The kitchen clock ticks loud enough to measure my heartbeat. I pour myself a glass of water, but my hands are trembling so badly, half of it spills on the counter. My husband used to say the world always divides after a death into those who mourn and those who move in. Now I understand exactly what he meant. By morning, I make a plan. I'm done reacting. If everyone around me wants to play games, then I'll play too, but by my rules. The first step is finding out who else knew about the ledger. I start with Ethan. I text him lunch. My treat. Let's talk. He replies within minutes. Finally, I was wondering when you'd come to your senses. Typical. We meet at a cafe downtown, one of those trendy places that looks cozy but smells like burnt ambition. He's already there, scrolling through his phone, pretending not to care. I sit across from him, and before I can even speak, he says, "You've been busy lately, Mom." The way he says mom like it's a borrowed word makes my skin crawl. "I'm settling estate matters," I say calmly. Nothing unusual. He leans back, smirking. "Funny. Aunt Helen says you found something Dad didn't want anyone to see. Care to share?" So that's how it is. They're fishing, testing me. I sip my coffee and smile faintly. If I did find something, I'd have told the lawyer first. "Dwyer." He snorts. "You think he's on your side, please. He's been working with our family for decades. You're just the latest addition." I feel the blood drain from my face. "What are you implying? That maybe you should stop digging before you find something you can't unlearn?" He stands up, throws a few bills on the table and walks out. I watch him go that same confident stride his father had, but without the warmth. The cafe chatter fades behind me as I realize the ugly truth. I'm completely surrounded. It's not paranoia if everyone really is plotting. When I get home, I lock the door again, shut the blinds, and pull out the ledger. If Dwyer warned me not to trust anyone, then I need to understand what's inside this book before it vanishes. The handwriting becomes tighter near the end, as though my husband had been rushing. One entry stands out. Transfer secured to P.O. Box 49. Key and safe deposit. There's a code beneath it. Numbers, letters like coordinates. I search through his old things until I find his key ring. Among them, a small brass key labeled bank. My stomach twists. I know that box. I remember signing the form when he added me as secondary access. He joked, "For emergencies only, like zombies or taxes. Maybe this is one of those emergencies." The next morning, I go to the bank wearing sunglasses and the kind of calm face that gets you ignored. The clerk pulls up the record, checks my ID, and leads me to a small room. The air smells sterile and metallic. When she leaves, I insert the key, turn it, and open the deposit box. Inside another envelope, thick and sealed with red wax. My husband's initials are pressed into the seal. My hands shake as I break it open. Inside is a USB drive, a few photographs, and a handwritten note. The note says, "If you're reading this, they've tried to erase you. Take this to D only if you must. The truth is not safe in daylight. The photographs show properties, warehouses, an old yacht, even a private airstrip. On the back of one photo, there's a single line, 'Everything they think they own belongs here.'" My heart races. He's hidden the real fortune somewhere. The ledger was the map, and this is the key. People still debate whether secrets protect families or destroy them. I can tell you it depends on who holds the secret first. As I drive back home, I notice a black car in my rearview mirror. It keeps a steady distance turning when I turn. I take a few random exits, but it follows. My pulse hammers as I pull into a crowded shopping mall and park between two trucks. The car passes, slows down, and disappears. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's everything. I sit there for a while, gripping the steering wheel until the tension drains from my arms. Back home, I hide the USB and ledger behind the false panel in the attic, someplace even I might forget which feels safer. Then I call Mr. Dwyer. He answers on the third ring, voice tight. "Mrs. Alden, listen carefully. I need you to come to my office tonight, alone." "Why tonight?" "Because by tomorrow morning, none of this will be in my hands anymore." The line goes dead. I stare at the phone, trying to decide whether I'm more afraid of what's happening or of finding out what he means. That evening, rain starts pouring hard enough to blur the world outside. I drive through slick streets until the courthouse clock tower looms above, glowing faintly through the downpour. Dwyer's office light is still on. When I step inside, he's pacing his desk piled high with papers. "They're forcing me out," he says without turning. The family filed an injunction. They want to freeze all estate accounts until the case is clarified. "Can they do that?" I whisper. "They already did." He hands me a document stamped, "Petition to contest will," but this is only the beginning, he adds. They've hired private investigators, forensic accountants, even a digital recovery firm. They want to prove you tampered with something. My knees go weak. "But I didn't." "I know," he says sharply, "but they don't need proof. They need confusion." He leans closer. "Whatever your husband left on that USB, it might be the only thing that can end this. But once you reveal it, it's over for everyone." "What do you mean over?" He hesitates. "Your husband's finances weren't clean, Mrs. Alden. Offshore transfers, shell companies, maybe even tax evasion. He wasn't hiding his wealth just from them, he was hiding it from the government." My stomach drops. The room spins. "So if I claim the inheritance, you inherit the crimes too." The rain beats harder against the window, each drop like a ticking clock. For a long moment, neither of us speaks. Finally, he says softly, "You can still walk away. Burn it all. Pretend you never found anything." But I can't, because beneath the fear there's anger, a steady burning one. My husband built an empire on lies and silence, and now I'm the last one holding the truth. Walking away would mean letting them rewrite everything. I stand up. "No," I say. "He wanted me to find this." "I'm not running." Dwyer studies me for a long second, then nods slowly. "Then you'd better be ready. Once you take the next step, there's no going back." He hands me another envelope. This is the contact for a forensic attorney. Someone who deals with cases like this. Don't trust email. Meet in person. As I leave the office, thunder cracks so loud it rattles the glass. I pull my coat tight, step into the storm, and realize something chilling. I'm no longer the widow they pitied. I'm the threat they fear. And the more they try to erase me, the louder my story will become. By morning, the storm has passed, but the air still feels heavy, like the world is holding its breath. I wake up to the sound of my phone vibrating across the nightstand. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in me, curiosity, dread instinct, answers. "Mrs. Alden," a calm female voice says. "This is Claire Mercer. Mr. Dwyer asked me to expect your call. The forensic attorney." Her voice is precise, deliberate. "Do you have a secure place to talk?" she asks. I glance around the empty house, its silence pressing against me. As secure as it gets. Good. Then I need you to bring all physical documents and electronic storage related to your husband's estate. We'll meet at 4 p.m. At my private office. No phones inside, no third parties. Before I can ask where, she sends me an address: an old brick building downtown, the kind that used to be a bank before the city moved on. I spend the day gathering everything: the ledger, the note, the photographs, and that cursed USB drive. Each item feels like a weight, not just of metal and paper, but of memory and danger. I keep thinking about what Dwyer said last night. You inherit the crimes too. It echoes in my mind, colliding with another truth I can't shake. My husband knew this would happen. He'd left breadcrumbs for me to follow, not warnings. Challenges, almost like he wanted me to finish something he couldn't. People still debate whether love protects or manipulates. Maybe it does both in equal measure. When I arrive at the building, the sky is already dimming, that strange violet hour between safety and suspicion. Claire meets me at the door, tall, sharp-eyed, wearing a gray suit that fits like armor. She leads me to a room with thick walls and no windows. Soundproof, she explains, setting her phone in a metal drawer. You should do the same. I obey, sliding my phone next to hers, watching the drawer click shut. Then she gestures for the files. Let's begin. I place everything on the table. She puts on gloves and examines each document like it's a crime scene artifact. When she gets to the ledger, she pauses. Interesting. He didn't use digital encryption. Handwritten records, old school. He didn't trust computers, I say. Said real secrets belong on paper. She smirks faintly. Smart man. But this, she points to the line about the P.O. Box 49. This is the key. It references a network of holding companies I've seen before. Offshore assets probably disguised as real estate or art. She inserts the USB drive into a secure laptop, one without Wi-Fi or ports exposed. For a moment, nothing happens. Then a folder pops up labeled "For Her Eyes Only." Claire glances at me, then clicks it. Inside are hundreds of scanned documents, deeds, bank records, transfer slips, all linking back to a trust registered in Liechtenstein. My husband had moved nearly everything there in the last 2 years of his life. He transferred ownership, she murmurs, scrolling. Not to family, not to charity, to an entity called the Alden Foundation for Future Holdings. And you, Mrs. Alden, are listed as chairwoman. I blink, stunned. Chairwoman, I didn't even know it existed. That's the point, she says. It's a shadow foundation, legal but hidden, perfectly designed to outlive family disputes. She sits back, tapping her pen. Your husband was planning to protect you, but not just from them, from everyone. My stomach tightens. Then why not tell me? She looks at me for a long moment before answering. Because if he told you, you'd be complicit. Those words settle over the room like dust. Complicit. The line between love and liability just blurred completely. Claire prints a few key documents and slides them toward me. Here's what you need to understand. If you claim this foundation publicly, it triggers scrutiny, federal, international. If you don't, the family can petition for control and destroy the evidence before it ever surfaces. Either way, someone loses everything. So what do? I ask. You buy time, she says simply. Move carefully. Don't trust correspondence. Don't speak to media. And most importantly, don't meet anyone alone. I hesitate. Not even Dwyer. She studies me, unreadable. Especially not Dwyer. My throat tightens. He warned me not to trust him. She nods slowly. Then maybe he's smarter than he looks. We end the meeting an hour later. I drive home as city lights blur into streaks of gold and red. I'm exhausted but too alert to rest. Every shadow outside my window feels like a pair of eyes. I double-check the locks again, even the attic hatch. As I climb the stairs, I hear a faint noise from below, soft, deliberate, like a drawer closing. I freeze, my heart pounding so loud it fills my ears. Hello? No answer. I grab the nearest thing, an umbrella, ridiculous but sharp, and creep downstairs. The living room is empty except the front door. It's unlocked. I swear I locked it. There's a footprint on the rug, muddy, half-dried. Someone's been here. I check the attic panel. The ledger and USB are still there, hidden, but there's something new, an envelope wedged beside them. My breath catches. The paper is crisp, unmarked, except for a single line typed across the front. Stop digging, or you'll join him. My knees nearly buckle. I stumble back, clutching the banister, my pulse racing. Who could have placed it there, Ethan? The aunt. Someone from Dwyer's firm? Or was it one of my husband's unseen partners, the kind Claire hinted at? The room feels smaller, air heavier. I grab the note, shove it into a drawer, and sit on the floor shaking. I think about calling the police, but what would I even say? Hi, someone left a vague threat about a secret offshore foundation in my attic. They'd think I was losing my mind. Maybe I am. Around 3 a.m., I make tea and sit by the window, staring out at the streetlights glow. Somewhere across town, my husband's family is probably celebrating, convinced they've cornered me. They don't realize they're part of something bigger, something that started long before any of us. And they definitely don't realize I'm done being scared. People still debate whether revenge is justice wearing makeup. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm beginning to like the way it looks on me. I take one last sip of tea, open my laptop, and start writing an anonymous email. Not to Dwyer, not to Claire. To an investigative journalist who specializes in corporate fraud. If the truth can't be hidden, maybe it can be burned into daylight instead. I hover over the send button, my finger trembling, knowing that once I press it, there's no undoing what comes next. I whisper softly, "You wanted me to finish this, didn't you?" Then I click send. The morning sun slices through the blinds like a knife catching the empty teacup I left beside the window. I barely slept. Every creak of the house, every passing car felt like someone was outside waiting for me to move. But I did it. I sent the email. To a reporter known for exposing offshore scandals, someone who's burned bigger names than ours. I didn't give my real name, of course. I called myself Widow X. All I wrote was, a high-profile family has hidden millions in offshore trusts under false wills. Documents available. Truth buried in plain sight. I attached the sanitized versions of the files. Claire helped me copy the ones that couldn't trace directly back to me but were damning enough to start a storm. Now I wait. My husband used to say silence is louder when people have something to lose. He wasn't wrong. By noon, the phone rings. I freeze when I see the name Ethan. I let it ring, then ring again, then stop. 5 minutes later, another call from an unknown number. The voicemail that follows chills my blood. "You think you're clever," a man's voice says low and calm. But clever women end up buried in paperwork and concrete. "Stay quiet, Mrs. Alden." The message ends with a click. No background noise. No hint of where it came from. Just that cold, confident tone. I replay it twice, then delete it, my hands trembling. The world feels smaller by the minute. I start pacing, my mind racing through possibilities. Who could have known I contacted the press so quickly? Either someone is watching my emails, or Dwyer or Claire has a leak. Or worse, they're both playing me. People still debate whether truth is a weapon or a curse. I'm starting to think it's both beautiful, deadly, and uncontrollable once released. 2 hours later, there's a knock at the door. I nearly drop my coffee, but it's Claire standing there with a calm expression that hides a storm. "We need to talk," she says quietly. "May I come in?" I hesitate, then step aside. She closes the door behind her and lowers her voice. "You sent something last night, didn't you?" My mouth goes dry. "You know the journalist contacted me this morning. He traced metadata back to the estate's network. You used your home Wi-Fi." "Oh my God," I whisper. "They can see that?" "Everyone can see everything if they want to," she says grimly. "You've just painted a target on yourself." I feel my chest tighten. You thought you were invisible," she cuts in. "You're not, but you might have done us a favor." Claire opens her briefcase and pulls out a printed news alert. Headline: Leaked files expose hidden trusts in domestic estate network authorities. Launch preliminary inquiry. Beneath it, blurred names, but not mine. Not yet. This, she says, tapping the headline, is what we call a controlled explosion. It forces the other side to panic, to make mistakes. "And what about me?" I ask. "You're the fuse," she says simply. She starts packing the documents again, but pauses when her phone buzzes. She glances at the screen, her face tightening. "That's not good. What? Dwyer's dead?" My mind blanks. What car crash this morning on the interstate? No witnesses, no skid marks. Police think he fell asleep at the wheel. She looks up, eyes hard. But Dwyer doesn't drive long distances. Ever. I sink into a chair, my legs suddenly useless. He warned me. He knew something was coming. Then it's not an accident, I whisper. Claire nods. That's why I came. We have to move the evidence. Now. We go upstairs and I show her the attic panel where I hid the USB and ledger. She examines the envelope, the one with the threat, but doesn't open it. Leave that, she says. It's bait. Whoever left it will come back for it. And when they do, we'll know. She slips the ledger into a waterproof bag and hides it under her coat. I'll store this in a neutral vault until we can get protection orders. In the meantime, stay somewhere public, hotel friend, anywhere but here. And if they find me, they already have. Those words follow me like a ghost. After she leaves, I pack a small bag, drive into town, and check into a quiet roadside inn. The kind of place where no one asks questions and everyone pretends not to notice anything. I draw the curtains tight and collapse on the bed, my mind spinning. My husband's secrets are unraveling faster than I can control them. One man dead, a journalist waiting for more files, a family furious and desperate, and me caught in the middle of it, all the unwilling heir to a war I never started. Around midnight, there's a soft ping from my phone. An email, no subject line, no sender name, just one line of text. He didn't die for money. He died for you. Attached is a photo, grainy black and white. My husband standing beside a woman I don't recognize outside what looks like an embassy. The timestamp is from last year. He's smiling, but not the way he smiled at me. Something else guarded, coded. Beneath the photo coordinates. I copy them into a map app. They lead to the same Vermont cabin, the one where I found the ledger. My pulse quickens. What else is there? A part of me wants to drive there tonight. Another part, maybe the sane part, knows that would be suicide. Still, I can't sleep. I sit up watching headlights pass across the curtains, my mind tangled between grief and rage. I whisper to the darkness, "What were you hiding from me?" Outside, rain begins to fall again. It sounds almost rhythmic, like someone knocking on the window in slow motion. I get up to check and freeze. Across the street, a figure stands under the streetlight, unmoving, watching. The rain falls over them, but they don't move, don't even flinch, just stand there, watching. I back away, my breath caught in my throat. When I look again, they're gone. Maybe it was a shadow, maybe not. I lock the door, push a chair under the handle, and whisper to no one. You probably won't survive this story. The same words I told my audience so many nights ago. Except this time, it's me I'm warning. I don't remember falling asleep, only the sound of the rain turning into static and then silence. When I wake, it's still dark, that eerie pre-dawn hour when the world feels like it's holding its breath. The hotel room is quiet except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. My phone lies on the nightstand, blinking softly. One new message. I hesitate before unlocking it. The email is from Claire. Don't come to the office. They've seized everything. Attached is a single blurry photo of men in dark suits carrying boxes out of her building. Beneath it, 2 words. Disappear now. My pulse slams through my body. I grab my bag, leave everything else behind, and slip out through the back exit of the hotel. The air is cold and damp, the parking lot empty. My car looks smaller than I remember, fragile somehow. I get in, lock the doors, and just sit there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles ache. Then I drive. No plan, no destination, just distance. The highway stretches out like a black ribbon, the horizon bruised with early light. Every headlight behind me makes my stomach tighten. I keep glancing at the rearview mirror, half expecting that same black car from before. After an hour, I pull into a rest stop to breathe. The coffee machine hums in the corner, and for a moment, everything seems almost normal. A woman in a blue jacket chats on her phone near the vending machine. A trucker snores quietly in a booth. Just life moving forward, indifferent to the chaos of mine. But peace never lasts. As I reach for a napkin, a folded note slides from under my cup. My heart stops. It's the same type of paper as before, the same clean typewriter font. Vermont. Now. No name, no explanation. just a direction that feels like a command. Vermont, the cabin, the coordinates from the photo. Every instinct screams to ignore it, but something deeper, curiosity, anger, maybe defiance, wins. I get back in the car, start the engine, and head north. People still debate whether destiny is choice wearing a disguise. Maybe this is mine, a road paved with secrets I didn't ask to inherit. The drive feels endless. Forests swallow the highway towns, fade into mist. The GPS flickers, loses signal, then reconnects. The farther I go, the quieter it gets until all I can hear is the hum of tires and my own heartbeat. When I finally reach the cabin, it's exactly as I left it. But something feels different. The air smells faintly of cigarette smoke, even though I don't smoke. The front door is slightly ajar. My skin prickles. I push it open slowly. Inside, the air is colder than it should be. A single chair sits in the middle of the living room, turned toward the window. On it, an envelope resting like a dare. I swallow hard and pick it up. Inside is a photograph. My husband again this time, standing next to Mr. Dwyer, both smiling. The back of the photo reads, "He knew before you did." For a long moment, I can't move. My husband and Dwyer working together, or something darker. I check the desk. The drawers, everything looks untouched, but the air hums with absence. Whatever was hidden here, someone already found it. I walk through the cabin slowly, flashlight trembling in my hand. In the study, a floorboard near the bookshelf looks slightly raised. I kneel, pry it open. Inside is a small wooden box. No lock, just a carved symbol, a circle intersected by a line. I open it. A flash drive. Another one, labeled Truth. My pulse spikes. I plug it into my laptop. The screen flickers, then loads a single video file. The thumbnail shows my husband sitting at this very desk. He looks tired, older, worn down, but his eyes are steady. I hit play. "If you're watching this," he says, voice soft but clear, "then the first part of my plan has worked." My breath catches. They think they've erased you, but they haven't. They never could. He leans closer to the camera. "You need to understand what I built wasn't about money. It was about safety. For you, for the ones who come after. The trust, the foundation, even the false, they were bait, to see who would betray first." He pauses, sighing deeply. "I made mistakes. Dwyer helped me hide them, but he also betrayed me. If he's still alive, don't trust him. If he's dead, don't mourn him. He chose his side." My hands start shaking. "There's one more piece," he continues. "A secondary vault under the old bank downtown, registered under Alden Foundation, Phase 2. You'll need the coordinates in the ledger and the key from my pocket watch." He leans back, his expression softening. "You always thought I loved puzzles because I liked control, but the truth is I loved that you could solve them. You were the only person I ever trusted to finish what I started." The video ends with static. I sit there frozen, staring at the blank screen. My husband didn't just leave clues, he built an entire labyrinth around his death. And now I'm at the center of it. I reach for the pocket watch, the one I've kept on my nightstand since the funeral. Sure enough, inside the casing there's a small hidden key. My throat tightens. The vault. Another layer. Another truth. People still debate whether closure is real or just a fancy word for exhaustion. At this point, I'd settle for either. As I stand to leave, headlights flash outside, bright, deliberate, aimed directly at the window. My heart jumps. I duck down, peering through the curtains. 2 cars. Black. Parked side by side. Figures step out, flashlights cutting through the mist. They're coming here. I grab the flash drive, stuff it in my jacket, and slip out the back door into the woods. The night air bites my skin. The forest is dense, wet, and alive with sound branches snapping, distant owls, my own ragged breath. I run until my lungs burn, the cabin's faint light swallowed by darkness. I stop by a stream, crouching behind a fallen tree, trying to steady my breathing. Voices echo faintly behind me. Male professional calm. Search the perimeter. She couldn't have gone far. My heart pounds so hard I feel it in my ears. I stay still, barely daring to breathe. Then a voice closer than the others says, "Don't hurt her. The Foundation wants her alive." My blood runs cold. Foundation. My husband's creation. Whoever they are, They're not done with me yet. I wait until the sounds fade, then crawl through the brush until I find the road again. My car is gone. Of course it is. I start walking, keeping to the tree line, following the faint glow of a gas station sign miles ahead. I don't know what I'll do next. All I know is this: my husband left me a maze and I'm done running in circles. If they want the truth, I'll give it to them. Just not the way they expect. By the time I reach the gas station, dawn has started to bleed across the horizon in shades of dull blue and gold. I'm soaked cold and shaking so badly the cashier stares as I stumble inside. I buy the cheapest hoodie they have and a burner phone, my mind racing faster than my heart. I charge the phone at a corner outlet, watching the rain drip from my sleeves, thinking about that voice in the woods. The foundation wants her alive. My husband's foundation. The one he said he built to protect me. Except now it sounds like a weapon turned inward. I wonder if he ever imagined it would come to this. Probably not. People still debate whether intelligence saves you or simply sharpens your fall. My husband was brilliant, but brilliance makes dangerous enemies. When the phone finally powers on, I use it to call Claire. Straight to voicemail. I try again, and this time it goes directly to a dead tone. She's either in hiding or gone. I check the news. Dwyer's death dominates the headlines. Alden estate attorney killed in highway collision. Police investigate mechanical tampering. My stomach flips. Mechanical tampering, not an accident. The pieces are aligning too neatly, like a story someone else is writing while I play along. I sip burnt coffee and spread the map on the counter, tracing the route my husband mentioned in his video. Downtown, the old bank vault registered under Alden Foundation, Phase 2. He said I'd need the key from his pocket watch, and I have it. I stare at the small brass key, its surface warm against my palm. It feels heavier than it should, as if holding it means holding the last thing tethering me to him. I rent a car under a fake name using cash. The drive back to the city feels unreal, every highway sign like an omen. When I reach the old bank, the building looms above the street like a tomb, marble columns, boarded windows, and a faded sign that still reads Alden & Company Investment Trust. My breath catches. He named the bank after himself decades ago, back when reputation meant security. Now it's abandoned, his ghost carved into stone. The front door is locked, but a side alley leads to a rusted metal door. The key fits perfectly. Inside, the air is cold and smells faintly of mold and old iron. My footsteps echo through the marble corridor as I descend into the basement, flashlight beam trembling across walls lined with safety deposit boxes. The numbers go on forever. When I reach box 49, the same number from the ledger, my pulse quickens. The key slides in smoothly. The door clicks open. Inside, not money, not jewels, just a small black notebook and a folded letter. I open the notebook first. Every page is filled with my husband's handwriting lists of names, dates, and symbols. Notes like transfer via Zurich intermediary, coded ledger J+12, Alden Foundation, restructure plan. At the bottom of one page, phase 3, activate upon my death. I open the letter. It's addressed to me. My love. If you've come this far, then you know too much and not enough. The truth isn't just about inheritance. It's about survival. What I built wasn't only ours. It's part of something older, something that began long before we met. The foundation isn't mine anymore. It never was. Get out while you can. Trust no one with the symbol. I look down at the notebook cover, the same circle with a line I saw on the box. My fingers tremble. What are you really? I whisper. The sound of a door creaking above makes me freeze. Footsteps echo down the marble stairs. Calm, steady, unhurried, not random. I slip into the shadows, clutching the notebook. A flashlight beam cuts through the darkness. 2 men in dark coats move slowly down the steps. One of them says quietly, "She's here. I told you she'd come for the vault. They're not cops, not family, professionals." I hold my breath as they approach the row of boxes. When one of them reaches for box 49, I move, fast. I toss a metal pipe I found earlier toward the far end of the hall. It clatters loudly. Both men spin around. While their flashlights swing the other way, I run. My boots slam the floor, echoing through the corridor. They shout behind me, footsteps pounding. I burst through the side door, up the stairs, into blinding daylight. The street is empty, except for a delivery truck turning the corner. I sprint across and duck into the alley, gasping for air. My hands shake as I grip the notebook. This little black book, it's not just financial data. It's names, places, maybe even leverage. Whatever it is, it's what killed Dwyer. It's what keeps them chasing me. I slip into a crowded subway station, buy a ticket with cash, and board the first outbound train. The doors close just as the men reach the platform. They scan the cars, but I duck behind a group of commuters. When the train moves, I finally let out the breath I've been holding. Across from me, a man in a business suit glances up from his paper, gives me a polite smile. I force one back, but inside my mind is spinning. I flip open the notebook, pretending to read casually. On one page, beneath a list of coded entries, a sentence jumps out. If they reach her, they control everything. Her. That's me. My hands go cold. I close the notebook and stare at my reflection in the window. I don't recognize the woman looking back. Tired eyes, hair, tangled mouth, set in determination. She looks like someone who's crossed a line and can't go back. As the train dives underground, the lights flicker. For a second, I see faces in the dark reflection. Dwyer's tired eyes, my husband's knowing smile, Claire's sharp silhouette, and then nothing but my own again. The city hums around me, oblivious. I whisper under my breath. All right, you wanted a player in your game, you've got one. The train pulls into a station near the waterfront. I step off, blending into the crowd. Outside, gulls circle over the gray river, and the wind smells of rust and rain. I pull my hood up, clutch the notebook tighter, and walk toward the old docks where the signal is weak and cameras don't reach. There's one last note from my husband in the ledger's margin that I hadn't understood before. It said, "Truth sleeps beneath the tide." Standing here now, watching the river's slow current slide beneath the pier, I finally start to wonder, was it a metaphor or did he mean it literally? The wind at the riverfront is sharp enough to sting my face, carrying the heavy scent of salt rust and something faintly chemical. Old ships creak against the docks like ghosts remembering their purpose. I follow the narrow wooden walkway toward the end where a faded metal sign reads, Alden Shipping Co., Private Dock. My husband's name again. It feels like he's everywhere, haunting his own empire, daring me to keep going. Beneath the pier, the water slaps softly against the supports, rhythmic, almost hypnotic. I kneel down, staring into the dark ripples, trying to decode the line from his ledger, "Truth sleeps beneath the tide." I whisper the words aloud, half expecting the river to answer. Instead, I notice something strange, an outline of metal beneath the water, about the size of a storage crate. My pulse quickens. I climb down the ladder, slowly gripping the cold, slick rungs. The river reaches my waist. The water's bite steals my breath, but I keep moving until I can reach the edge of the submerged shape. It's a rusted metal chest chained to the pier beam. I tug, but it won't budge. My husband must have placed it here long ago, hidden in plain sight. There's a lock on it, old but solid. I pull the brass key from my pocket, the one from his watch. My fingers are numb, but it fits perfectly. With a soft click, the lock gives way. The chest creaks open, releasing a faint metallic smell, and something else, a memory. Inside, wrapped in plastic, are folders, photographs, and a single waterproof drive labeled Foundation Origin. I drag the chest onto the pier, coughing, soaked, and shivering. My hands tremble as I flip through the contents. Each folder contains copies of transactions, government memos, classified-looking documents marked Confidential Alden Initiative, and the photographs, grainy images of men shaking hands with officials, one of them unmistakably my husband. He wasn't just building a private trust, he was part of something political, something global. Notes scribbled in the margins mention charity fronts, energy projects, donor channels. It hits me all at once, this wasn't just about inheritance. This was a web of power, corruption, and cover-ups spanning decades. My husband didn't hide money. He hid proof that could burn reputations, maybe topple governments. No wonder people were dying. I clutch the waterproof drive tightly, knowing this is what everyone's been after the thing Dwyer called too dangerous for daylight. People still debate whether truth liberates or destroys. Maybe that's why my husband buried it in water so it could never catch fire. The sound of footsteps behind me snaps me back, slow, deliberate, and far too close. I spin around, breath-hitching. Standing there, half-shrouded by fog, is Ethan. His coat is soaked from the rain, his expression unreadable. "You shouldn't be here," I whisper. He tilts his head slightly, smiling just enough to make me uneasy. Funny. Dad used to say the same thing to me when I caught him doing something he shouldn't. I take a step back. "How did you find me?" "You're not hard to follow when you leave breadcrumbs of chaos," he says lightly. "The cabin? The vault? The news leak? You've been broadcasting your location louder than you think." He nods toward the chest. "So that's what this was all about, huh? Not money. Power." His voice softens. "You could have just let us handle it." "Handle it," I say, anger bubbling up. "By burying it again, by pretending none of this existed, by keeping the family alive," he snaps. "You think you're saving something, but you're putting us all in danger. There are people involved who don't care about family names or bloodlines. They'll erase anyone who knows too much." I clutch the drive closer. "Then why are you here?" He exhales, almost tired. "To take it. And to keep you safe if you just stop fighting." "You mean silence me?" He shakes his head slowly. "No, Mom. Protect you. The foundation isn't what you think. It started long before Dad. He just inherited it, and so did you." My throat goes dry. "What are you talking about?" Ethan steps closer, his eyes catching the dull light. "The Alden Foundation isn't a trust, it's a network. For decades, it's been the middleman between governments, corporations, and private donors who needed plausible deniability. Dad tried to shut it down when he realized what it really was. That's why they killed him." My heart stumbles over the words. Killed him. The heart attack. The will. The accident. "It was all staged," he says quietly. "He found out too much. They warned him, and when he didn't stop, they made sure you'd inherit the mess. You were leverage." I stare at him, the truth hitting like a physical blow. My husband didn't just die. He was executed by his own creation. And now that creation has my name on it. "Why are you helping them?" I whisper. Ethan's smile fades. "I'm helping us. They promised protection if I brought them the drive." He holds out his hand. "Give it to me, please." I shake my head, stepping back toward the edge of the pier. The river churns below, dark and endless. If I give this up, I lose everything he died for. If you keep it, you lose your life. His voice cracks slightly. "I don't want to bury another parent." For a moment, the world feels still, just wind water and the echo of things unsaid. Maybe in another life he'd have been my son in more than name, but now we're on opposite sides of the same secret. I take a deep breath. "I loved your father," I say softly, "but I won't die for his sins." Then before he can move, I throw the drive into the river. Ethan's eyes widen. He lunges forward, but it's too late. The drive hits the water, vanishing into the current. He screams something I can't hear over the wind. I back away, trembling. "It's done," I whisper. "No one controls it now." He stares at me for a long, agonizing moment, then turns and walks away without another word. When he's gone, I fall to my knees, sobbing. The river keeps flowing, uncaring, washing away the evidence of everything. His power, my defiance, our lies. The tide takes it all. I sit on that pier for what feels like hours, staring at the gray water where the drive disappeared. My reflection trembles on the surface, fragile, rippling, distorted. It doesn't look like me anymore. It looks like a stranger who's survived too much and learned too little. The world around me hums softly, as if relieved the game is over. But deep down, I know it isn't. The foundation won't stop because I threw their truth into a river. They'll rewrite it, build another version, bury the past under new lies. That's what powerful people do. They recycle evil until it looks respectable again. When I finally stand, my legs feel like stone. I walk back to the road, soaked and trembling, the cold cutting deep into my bones. My car is gone, of course. So is Ethan. But he didn't take the notebook. It's still pressed against my chest inside my coat pages, damp but intact. Maybe he didn't want it. Or maybe he knew it wasn't worth killing me for anymore. I don't know which possibility hurts more. I start walking toward town, following the sound of traffic somewhere beyond the fog. My husband's words keep replaying in my mind. You were the only one I trusted to finish what I started. Maybe he believed that. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe love made him forget I was capable of burning everything down if cornered. People still debate whether love is the cause or the casualty of truth. I think in our family it died quietly years before either of us noticed. By the time I reach the highway, the rain has stopped. A car slows beside me, a cab. The driver, an older man with kind eyes, rolls down the window. "You okay, miss?" he asks. I nod, voice hoarse. "Bus station, please." He doesn't ask questions. I sit in the back seat watching the city emerge again, its towers like hollow monuments to all the people who've learned to hide behind wealth. My husband helped build this skyline. Now I can barely look at it. When we pass the courthouse, there's a crowd of reporters outside. On the cab radio, the announcer's voice crackles through breaking news. Leaked documents from the late Henry Alden's estate have prompted a full federal investigation into offshore trusts and political donations. My breath catches. I didn't send those files. I deleted every trace. So who did? Then it hits me, Claire. She must have backed everything up before the raid. She's alive. I almost laugh, a sound halfway between relief and disbelief. My husband's fortress of lies finally cracked, not by inheritance or revenge, but by persistence. Maybe that's all truth ever needs, someone too stubborn to quit. The driver glances at me through the mirror. "You know that guy Alden, rich folks always end up in trouble, huh?" I smile faintly. "Yeah," I whisper. "I knew him." When we reach the station, I pay cash and step out into the early afternoon light. Everything feels sharper, louder, too real. I buy a ticket under another name to Nowhere Special, just far enough. As I wait for the bus, I pull out the black notebook one last time. Its pages flutter in the wind like restless ghosts. At the back, I find something I hadn't seen before, a small slip of paper glued to the cover. On it, in my husband's handwriting, "The truth doesn't belong to anyone. Let it breathe." I laugh softly. "You got your wish," I say. The bus arrives with a sigh of brakes. I climb aboard, sit by the window, and watch the city slide away behind me. Somewhere inside, grief and peace collide like slow-moving tides. I think of Dwyer, of Claire, of Ethan, of the man I loved who turned his secrets into my inheritance. And I think of myself, not the woman he tried to protect, but the one who learned to protect herself. People still debate whether closure is possible. Maybe it isn't. Maybe life just gives us pauses between storms. But as the road stretches ahead, I decide that's enough. I open the notebook, tear out the last page, and let it flutter out the window. It dances briefly in the wind before disappearing behind us. For the first time in months, I feel light. The phone in my pocket buzzes once an unknown number again. I stare at it, then turn it off. Some stories don't need sequels. Outside, the sky clears. The sun edges through clouds, soft and forgiving. I rest my head against the window, close my eyes, and whisper, "Now it's really over." And that, my friends, is how everything ended. Or maybe how it finally began. I didn't win. I didn't lose. I just walked away with what mattered most, the ability to breathe again. Sometimes survival isn't about victory. It's about refusing to be erased, even when the world writes your name in pencil. If you're still here, thank you for listening to me, to this strange confession that started with an empty will and ended with a river swallowing the truth. You probably felt some of that tension in your chest, that ache between love and betrayal, that families like mine pretend doesn't exist. But it does. It always does. If you take anything from this story, let it be this. Secrets are like inheritance. They're never truly yours alone. You just hold them long enough to decide what they're worth. So before you get comfortable tonight, maybe ask yourself what you'd do if the person you trusted most left you the truth instead of money. Would you protect it or set it free? Thank you for staying until the end, for lending me your time and your silence. If you enjoyed this journey through the cracks of trust and family, make sure to subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. Now turn off the lights, maybe keep the fan on for a bit of comfort, and drift into your own quiet thoughts. I'll see you next time with another story you probably won't survive. Good night.